course, you'll need mud. Food coloring is optional. You'll need brushes, spoons, or your hands, bowls, cardstock, and some extra water in case you'd like to make more mud. So I'm going to begin by making up some mud and looking around for some soil that I can dig up and add to my bowl so that we can start our mud activities. For this activity, we're going to be mud painting. So for our mud paints, we're going to need some water so that we can make our paints to the right consistency that we need to make our paintings. I found the lighter soil from one area, and when I kept looking, I found this darker soil from another area. And we're just going to continue to dig and dig and dig and collect our soil until we have enough for us to create some mud paints. It looks like we have enough to go and we're ready to start making some mud. I'm just taking a stick and I'm stirring and crushing a bit of the dirt that we found to make sure that we have the smoothest mud that we can get. And once that's finished, I'm going to take my water bottle and add a little bit of water to start mixing our mud together. And I'm going to keep adding it gradually, bit by bit, until we get the consistency that we want our paints to be. And this is almost the consistency that I'd like. I'm just going to add a little bit more water, and then our paint should be ready. And now you can just take your paint brushes or your spoons and start like this, or you can get some smaller bowls ready so you can add your food coloring to them. I'm going to separate the mud that I made into 3 separate bowls. I'm going to start by adding some green food coloring and mixing our mud together. Then red. And blue. It only changes the color of the mud a tiny bit, but you can still see the colors once the mud dries. And this is where you can add old paintbrushes or sponges or old cloths that you don't want to use, and you can begin your mud painting and look at the beautiful texture that it gives you on your paper. This activity works great for those who love to get their hands messy and in the mud to create some beautiful mud finger paintings. And this activity also works for those who may not want to get their hands that messy, who can use paintbrushes or spoons or sponges to still create some beautiful pictures. And if you'd like, you can even put together some of your own nature brushes while you're painting with your mud. I put together some leaves and I'm just dipping them into our mud and dragging it lightly across the paper. You can experiment with the brushes and the materials that you have to see what kind of pictures you get and what wonderful ideas you'll have. I'm going to take the mud that has the green food coloring and spread it all across our paper. And next I'm going to grab the mud that has the red food coloring and blend it in with the other mud. And this is where I could see the difference in the colors of the mud that I put in. After we're finished, I get to look at the wonderful textures that I got with my mud. And I can't wait for it to dry to see what it'll look like. And this is what my drawings looked like after they dried. You can see the different colors and the rough textures that we have. They look super cool when they're dry. I hope you guys have fun with yours. And for our next activity, we're just going to add some more soil to the mixture to create some thicker mud that's going to be moldable. I'm just adding in handfuls of soil and then mixing it together until we get the consistency that we need to be able to sculpt. We're going to keep adding soil, and then we're going to keep mixing it together until we get the consistency of this. But don't worry, we're going to mold it so that it's not as sticky anymore and it becomes like mud clay. You can bring out a plastic plate to make it easier to sculpt on, or you can just sculpt on the ground. I also brought out some utensils to use to sculpt my clay. I'm going to use my spoon to press into the mud and drag it out. Maybe you can guess what I'm making. Mud play allows children to connect and interact with the natural world around them while also developing fine motor skills and becoming aware of their senses. Mud play also works on boosting the children's creativity and their imagination, as well as working on skills such as problem-solving skills and construction skills. And whatever tools you choose to bring out will give you some neat ideas on how to design your sculpture. My fork is able to make stripes, and my spoon is able to smooth everything out. You can also build up your sculptures by rolling up a small piece of mud clay and pressing it gently into the plate. This way you can build towers and people. Can you guess what I'm going to make? Then I'm going to take my fork and use its prongs to create my bear's toes. And what's really awesome about these mud sculptures is that you can just scoop them back up and start again. I can't wait for you to try out your mud sculptures, and I hope you all have fun creating and painting with your mud. Bum up here, everyone. Thanks for watching.